Welcome back to USA Car Reviews, the channel where we dive deep into the greatest machines ever to roll off the assembly line. Today we're taking a trip back in time to one of the most iconic muscle cars of its era, the 1970 Chevrolet Nova SS. This was a car that blended lightweight design, aggressive styling, and raw American horsepower into a package that left its mark on the golden age of muscle cars. So buckle up, because we're about to relive what made the '70 Nova SS such a legendary ride. The Chevy Nova had humble beginnings. Originally introduced as the Chevy II back in the early 60s, it was designed to be a compact, affordable, no-nonsense car. Something practical for everyday Americans, a car that could take you to work during the week and handle the grocery run on the weekend. But as the muscle car craze exploded in the mid to late 60s, Chevrolet saw an opportunity to turn this lightweight platform into something much more exciting. By 1968, the Nova was completely redesigned, and by 1970, the SS version was a true contender in the muscle car wars. It wasn't just another compact car anymore. It was a beast waiting to be unleashed. The 1970 Chevy Nova SS had that perfect balance of understated looks and serious performance. Unlike some muscle cars that screamed for attention with stripes, spoilers, and wild graphics, the Nova SS kept things relatively simple. From a distance, you might mistake it for just another small Chevy, but once you looked closer, you could spot the subtle cues that set it apart. The blacked-out grille, the SS badging, the rally wheels, and the aggressive stance told you this wasn't just an economy car, it was something built to perform. The Nova had a short wheelbase and lightweight body, which meant when you dropped a powerful engine under the hood, you had the recipe for some serious speed. Speaking of engines, the 1970 Nova SS came with several options, and this is where things get really exciting. The base SS package gave you the 350 cubic inch V8, which already offered plenty of power for a compact car. But the real magic happened when you checked the box for the legendary 396 big block. That engine came in a few different versions, ranging from 350 horsepower all the way up to 375 horsepower, which was about as much as Chevrolet wanted to advertise back then. In reality, those numbers were often underrated. The 396 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission turned the Nova SS into a street brawler that could keep up with or even beat cars that cost a lot more money. Driving one of these cars was a raw, visceral experience. There were no driver aids, no traction control, no fancy electronics. It was just you, the steering wheel, the pedals, and that roaring V8 under the hood. The Nova SS would launch hard, and thanks to its relatively light weight compared to some of the bigger Chevys like the Chevelle SS or the Camaro, it felt nimble and quick. The power-to-weight ratio made it a serious threat at stoplight drag races and at the track. A properly equipped '70 Nova SS could easily dip into the low 14s or even high 13s in the quarter-mile right off the showroom floor, and with a few bolt-on modifications, guys were pushing them into the 12s. The 1970 model year was also significant because it was right before the muscle car era started facing challenges from rising insurance premiums, stricter emissions regulations, and eventually the fuel crisis. So in a lot of ways, the 1970 Nova SS represents the peak of affordable, no-frills American muscle. It gave buyers a chance to get big block performance in a small, budget-friendly package. For young drivers especially, it was the perfect entry point into the world of muscle cars. But it wasn't just about speed. The Nova SS also had that classic late 60s and early 70s Chevrolet styling that still turns heads today. The body lines were clean and muscular without being over the top. The front end had a menacing, almost shark-like look with the grille and headlights tucked in tight. The rear was simple but strong, with bold taillights and just enough chrome to remind you it was built during the golden age of Detroit steel. Inside, the Nova kept things simple as well. You got bucket seats if you wanted them, a straightforward dash layout, and if you went with the SS, you could equip it with a tachometer, console-mounted shifter, and a few sporty touches. But overall, it was about keeping weight down and costs low, so you won't find luxury in a Nova SS. What you will find is pure driving excitement. One of the coolest things about the 1970 Nova SS is how customizable it was. Owners back then, and even today, loved to modify these cars. You could swap cams, upgrade carbs, throw on headers, and really wake up the engine. The Nova's small size meant any horsepower gains made a huge difference. Plus, since it shared so many parts with other Chevys of the era, aftermarket support was and still is massive. To this day, People build Novas into everything from pro touring machines with modern suspension to all-out drag strip monsters putting down 1,000 horsepower. Of course, back in the day, the Nova SS wasn't just popular with enthusiasts, it also gained a reputation on the streets. Street racers loved them because they were cheap, easy to modify, and packed a punch. They didn't draw as much attention as a flashy Camaro or Chevelle, which meant you could surprise a lot of unsuspecting rivals. The Nova SS became known as a bit of a sleeper, the kind of car that looked modest but could dominate when the light turned green. Today, the 1970 Chevy Nova SS is a sought-after collector's car. Prices have been climbing steadily as enthusiasts recognize its place in muscle car history. A clean example with the 396 big block and 4-speed can easily fetch serious money at auctions, especially if its numbers matching and restored to original condition. But even beyond the collector market, the Nova SS holds a special place in the hearts of muscle car fans because it represents that pure, unfiltered spirit of the era. It wasn't about luxury, it wasn't about fancy features, it was about taking a small car and stuffing it with the biggest engine you could, then letting it loose on the open road. So why does the 1970 Nova SS still matter today? Because it reminds us of a time when performance was raw and accessible. It was proof that you didn't need a high-priced sports car to have fun. It was a muscle car for the everyman, a car that could be ordered by a young kid with a decent job, taken home, and turned into something that would dominate the streets. And that's exactly why it's remembered as one of Chevy's greatest hits. Here on USA Car Reviews, we love talking about cars that embody that timeless American spirit, and the 1970 Nova SS is absolutely one of those cars. It may not have the flashy reputation of a Camaro Z28 or a Chevelle SS 454, but ask anyone who owned one, raced one, or even just rode in one back in the day, and they'll tell you this car had something special. It was raw, it was fast, and it was fun. So whether you're a longtime muscle car fan, a collector, or just someone discovering these classics for the first time, the 1970 Chevy Nova SS deserves your respect. It's a true legend from an era we'll never see again, a car that proved big things can come in small packages, and a reminder of why we fell in love with muscle cars in the first place. Thanks for watching USA Car Reviews. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1970 Chevy Nova SS, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more classic car content, and let us know in the comments, if you could own one classic Chevy muscle car, would you go with the Nova SS, the Chevelle, the Camaro, or something else entirely? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep the engines revving and the rubber burning.